Alright, peace everybody. What's going on? We back with another trending hot topic commentary show where we do all the latest and hottest reaction and reviews. Of course, you're joining me, your host, N Lynch. Let's talk. Alright, guys, so I'm back. I've been, y'all know, I take a little hiatus every now and then, but I gotta come back and give y'all, the what's what and who's who's. But on this video, I just want to go over this article because I got put on this article um a couple of days ago. I've been meaning to make this video for like 2 or 3 days now, and I never got around to doing it. But I guess I'll do it right now. But this is an interesting situation right here. This is one of those things where as though we talk about how the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and you know same old song, but it is what it is. Sad to say that a lot of females today, they go through this, but it's a story about a woman who pretty much had an epiphany, and she realized, after 20 years of leaving her ex-husband, that she regrets it, and it was one of the worst mistakes, probably the worst mistakes that she ever made in her life. So we're gonna dive right into this because it's real interesting and it's a little lengthy, so bear with me. We're going to do that, but before we do, please, it always helps, and I always appreciate it if you will hit the like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the bell notification icon of all. That way you'll be notified every time I upload these videos. Also, while you're on the verge of subscribing or liking the video, I implore you to follow me on TikTok as well at Let's Talk by N Lynch 0. That again is Let's Talk by N Lynch 0. I got a Let's Talk by N Lynch page, but I really don't use that page anymore, so I added another one with the 0 at the end. So you can follow me on there. But let's dive right into this video. Now, the title of it, it just lures you right in. It says, "I left the love of my life because I thought I could do better. Now I'm childless and alone at 42." So that's telling right there in itself. And if that don't lure you in right there, then I don't know what does. So let's see what she's talking about. Laughing and dancing with my fiancé at our engagement party, I thought I might actually burst with happiness, surrounded by our family and friends. I looked at Matthew and felt certain I had met the man I was going to spend the rest of my life with. Quite simply, he was my soulmate. And this is the woman right here, as you can see. This I'm assuming this is her right now. And as you can tell from just by the way she looks, she doesn't look really happy in this picture at all, right? No happiness, no nothing, no soulmate. Doesn't seem like he's around. I mean, she's a fairly nice looking lady. I mean, she's not bad looking, but it's a sadness to her face. If you get me, she seems a little bitter. She seems like she has resentment, and just a little bit of loneliness. And you can just, me personally, I like to read people, and I can just go off of that just by looking at this photo right here. But this is her, and the caption says, "Karen Kross regrets leaving her first love and mistook contentment for unhappiness." Which a lot of people do today, and to be fair, that's men and women. I can't just put all the blame on females, because I notice a lot of males do it as well. You mistake contentment for unhappiness, and that leads to bad situation. That's a recipe for disaster, But that's the lady named Karen Kross. Karen, right? It's always a Karen. But let's continue. We were desperately in love and had our future life together mapped out. First, we would save to buy our own home then would become a romantic wedding. Then would come a romantic ceremony, wedding ceremony, and children will follow. So, and that's something that all people, couples, young couples, you know, a lot of times that's what you do. You like to plan your future, talk about things and everything, and you know, just sometimes life hits you, and it don't always, turn out the way you plan it. But that's where, you know, counseling comes in, prayer, because I'm a big advocate on praying, especially as you're a couple. I think if you're going to join together in union and under God, then praying together is something that you're supposed to be doing anyway, even before the whole marriage and stuff. And that's something too that a lot of men and women should start incorporating into your relationships. Like, y'all need to start finding people who's gonna pray with you, who's gonna bless you and bless your family and your hardships, even your happiness. But because a lot of times we so focus on ourselves and everything, we always look inward instead of looking beyond ourselves. But that's going too deep for some people. But I know a lot of y'all get the drift. It all seemed so simple to my naive 19-year-old self. I was smugly told myself, the girl who had it all. So why 20 years later do I find myself single, childless, and tormented by the fact that I have thrown away the only true happiness I ever had? And this is her right here at 19 years old, and I'm assuming this is Matthew. Yeah, see, the caption says, "Happier times, Karen Kross with her former partner Matthew, who she thought was the one." Now look at her. Look how young and spunky she look. You know how she's glowing. Everything just seems like perfect, right? And then when you scroll back up and you look at her right there, that's a big difference. Now, of course, 20 years is going to change a whole lot, but I'm not talking about just the aging. I'm not really talking about the aging at all. I'm talking about, look at the light. Look at the glamour. Look at the happiness. Look at that and look at that. Two totally different people and two totally different crossroads in their lives. But let's continue. 8 years, that wonderful engagement party in 1989. 8 years after that wonderful engagement party in 1989, I walked away from dear, devoted, loyal Matthew, convinced that somewhere out there, a better, more exciting, more fulfilling life awaited me. And ain't that something that this seemed to be the whole gist of a lot of talking points nowadays? Like, because that's why I said in the beginning of the video, this video is pretty much talking about, looking for or assuming and presuming that the grass is green on the other side. And at least for Karen Kross anyway, the grass wasn't green on the other side. That's not to say that, there aren't exceptions to the rules, because they are. And sometimes a person would, leave a certain situation that could have been good for them for another one, assuming that it can be better, and then it turns out to be better. But when you look at the stats in those type of scenarios, that's a very, 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 very low percentage on the overall outcome abroad. So you pretty much playing Russian roulette when a lot of females do stuff like that. That's a big gamble. That's the Mega Millions that just happened last week. That won over $1 billion. That's that. And you might be that only one person might be able to get that out of hundreds of millions of people. So the odds may not be in your favor, pretty much. But let's continue. Only there wasn't. Now I am 42 and I have all the trappings of success. a high-flying career, financial security, and a home in the heart of London's trendy Notting Hill. But I don't have the one thing I crave more than anything: a loving husband and family. And that's what, see, a lot of y'all females, y'all got fooled by this indoctrinated, notion that it's getting to the bag, getting to the money, and all that stuff. Like that's gonna complete you. And y'all get, like, and I gotta give it to y'all. A lot of y'all do get to the bag. Y'all careers and all that stuff. Like y'all be doing it, and it seems like the status quo make sure that y'all be able to do it. So that's more powerful. That's more power to you. Like I'm no hater at all. I congratulate all that. Shoot, I got daughters. I tell y'all that all the time. I got 3 daughters. So if y'all can do it, of course I want to see my baby girls be able to do it as well. But I also talk to my daughters about, having families too. And, when the time comes, especially my oldest daughter, my youngest daughter, they really, not really the conversation for them yet. But my oldest, I try to talk about these things, incorporate them in our conversations because, she need to know, she need to understand that having a family is really important. But let's continue. You see, I never did find another man who offered everything Matthew did, who understood me and loved me like he did. Someone who has my best friend as well as my lover. Someone who was my best friend as well as my lover. And look at this on the side highlighted. My father warned me not to throw this love away, but I was sure I'd find Mr. Perfect around the corner. And that seems like to be the attitude of a lot of females, like I said before. Like they just know that it's going to find something better. But this is the kicker, though. She just said that my father warned me not to throw this love away. Meaning she either grew up in a 2-parent household, or, if the parents wasn't married or they separated or whatever, at least she had the father around and who had enough common sense to tell her not to throw something good away. Like, if her and Matthew was together and everything, then her father seen that, he probably met Matthew several times and seen that he may have been, a compatible partner for his baby girl. Maybe he's seen a little bit of himself in Matthew or whatever, or the better version of him. I'm assuming that's usually how it works. But she didn't even listen to her dad. She like, no, Pop, I'm cool. I got this. And dads, parents, when you're dealing with a kid, once they reach a certain age, you're not going to keep coddling them, so you're going to let them, stumble and bump on their own. Let them, figure it out on their own. You're not going to let them stray away too far, but you got to let them develop. So her dad probably said his piece and left the ball in her court. Because at the end of the day, the ball is in her court. She has free will to do whatever she wants. She had free will to choose, and she chose. And now, 20 years later, she's regretting that choice. Today, seeing friends with their children around them tortures me, as I know I am unlikely ever to have a family of my own. I think about the times Matthew and I talked about having children, even discussing the names we would choose. I cannot believe I turned my back on so much happiness. Instead, here I am back on the singles market, looking for the very thing I discarded with barely a backward glance all those years ago. Yikes. That was deep. And she pretty much just openly admit, like, look, I had a good thing, and I messed it up because I wanted to go out here and, like King Joffrey Joffre said on Coming to America, she wanted to sow her royal oats. It was her right. It was her prerogative. As a female, as an empowered female, especially around these times, because this article was a little older. And then she said it was 20 years ago, so of course we're talking about a different time, maybe like in the 90s. So, yeah, that's when the empowerment and all that stuff was, really showing. So she thought that she can find something else. And look, did she? Well, if she did, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, right? I know I can't have Matthew back, and it hurts when I hear snippets of information about his life and how content he is. 15 years after I ended our relationship, he is happily married. Wow. Now, do you think that's a big, kick in the face to her, right? And this is the funny thing about it. Like, that hurts her. But she's the one who left him. And this is something that it happens a lot. Like the female will leave. It will leave you assuming they're going to find something better. And they might find something that might do be better for a time. But that euphoria always wears off. And you always seen your true happiness was. And then the person is gone. And you like, wow, how you gonna do that? But you did it first. You started it. It's kind of an oxymoron. But this is what it is. And now Matt, he done moved on. He got out of there. And good for Matthew too. That was real good for him. Apparently Matthew wanted to start a family. He was trying to do it with her. She didn't want to do that. So he found someone who was able to do it with. And now Matthew got a family. Karen met Matthew met when they were at school and started dating when she was 17. So they were high school sweethearts. And I know some of y'all gonna be like, well, people grow apart. Yes, that is true. People grow up, they start, thinking differently and having different views and all that stuff. You grow apart. But there are people who were together since high school and they're still together now. I know, and I know this is anecdotal, but you can probably just look it up online, the Google University. Because I know several people who were together since high school and still together now. And I know several people who know several people. And then those several people probably know several people. So it's kind of not like it's not like an anomaly or anything like that. At this time of year, so many people will be assessing their lives and relationships, wondering if the grass is greener on the other side. Many will mistake contentment for boredom, forgetting to cherish the good things they have. I will urge those who are considering walking away from such riches to think again. See, now she's using her voice to get to these younger females and these newer people to let them know, like, look, don't do what I did, because all that hot girl summer and single and all that stuff and doing what I can want and boss chick, it ain't what it's hitting for. That's not what it's hitting for. Because you're going to be doing that for 20, 30 years, and you're going to wake up, you're 40 or 50 something, and you're going to be like, damn, I'm still alone. But I'm a boss chick, though. At 50 something. Like the chick on TikTok, Granny Too Thick. The one who used the granny filters. Like, and that's how it's going to be. That's how it is. That's how it is now. How different things would be for me now if only I'd listened to Matthew when he pleaded with me not to leave him in 1997. Tears pouring down his face, I was crying too, and it tortured me to watch the heart of the man I loved breaking in front of me. But I was resolute. Pretty much, you know, I'm going to do what I want to do. This is my world. That's 1997 too. Yeah. Then what woman? What with Mel Gibson and what's her name? Ellen Hunt come out. Like, they were empowering females back then. Like, that's when it was like really blossoming. So it was a time for her to like kick Matt to the curb and see what this corporate world going, you know, this feminist movement and everything going to bring me. Because I believe I can get all the trappings and treats and stuff, and I can get my cool dude on the back end who's Mr. Perfect. Yeah, Matthew was the perfect guy for the whole time. More than likely. One day I might look back and realize I've made the biggest mistake of my life. I told him as we clung to each other desperately how prophetic those words have proven to be. I will always be here for you, Matthew promised, and I arrogantly thought that somehow I could put him on ice and return to him. And that's what a lot of females do. Shout out for her being honest. But Blue Pill Matthew, because that's what it sounded like. It sounded like he was like a beta male type, whatever. Maybe not beta, but he definitely was Blue Pill. And she probably looked at him as beta and was like, well, look, I'm going to go out here and do what I want to do because Matthew was high over heels for me. And it's going to hurt me breaking up with him, but I know once I'm done having my fun, I can always get back with him. See, people, like, a lot of females be like, dudes, y'all gotta understand, a lot of females look at y'all this way. They look at y'all like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and then he's gonna forgive me later on because I'm sitting on this gold mine right here in between my legs. That's why I tell brothers, like, y'all gotta start thinking with your big head instead of your little head. Honestly. Matthew and I met when we attended the same comprehensive school in Essex. We started dating just before Christmas in 1987 when I was 17 and studying for my A levels by the time he had left school and was working at a motorcycle courier. We got on like a house on fire, and our families each supported the relationship before long. We had fallen in love. Matthew was romantic but incredibly practical, something that would later come to annoy me. His gifts to me that Christmas were a leather jacket and a pair of thermal leggings. So y'all heard that? When she said, listen to this. Before long, we had fallen in love. Matthew was romantic but incredibly practical, meaning he was predictable. Some might say boring. And she needed some excitement. She needed the unknown, the mysteries. He didn't present that to him. And that's why those Pookies and Ray Ray types, they know that. So they live a little dangerous and all that stuff. And willing to take those type of risks. But there's always some BS that comes with it as well. So I mean, look, it is what it is. 2 weeks later, when we've been seeing each other for less than a month, he proposed. We were in my little mini clubman when he shouted at me to stop the car, scared something was wrong. I braked in the middle of traffic and we both jumped out. Then obviously, to the other drivers beeping their horns, he got down on one knee in the middle of the road. I love you, Karen Kross, he said. Promise you'll marry me one day? I laughed and said yes, thrilled that he felt the same way that I did. Okay, so she was happy at first. What changed? Well, I guess the practical, but let's go into detail. In the summer of 1989, while out for a romantic meal, Matthew proposed properly with a diamond solitaire ring. 2 months later, we held our engagement party for 40 friends and family at the little house we were renting at the time. Okay, getting a little good. The following year, we bought a tiny starter home in Grays, Essex, which we moved into with furniture we had back, borrowed, and stolen. we giggled with delight at the thought of this growing up new life. I was my first junior role at a woman's magazine, and Matthew worked fitting tires and exhaust. So our combined salaries are of around £15,000 a year, £15,000 a year. Meant we struggled to make the mortgage payments, but we didn't care, telling ourselves that it wouldn't be long before we were earning more and able to afford weekly treats and a bigger home. We could bring up the babies we had planned. But then the housing market crashed and we were plunged into negative equity. Struggling should have brought us closer together, and it first did, but as time went on, my magazine career and salary advance, I started to resent Matthew as he drifted from one dead-end job to another. And the reason why I kept reading that, because I knew it was getting to that part. Whereas though, now, it's getting to a point in her life where her job and everything is doing good. She's making more money than she ever made in her life. But now Matthew is bouncing around from job to job. And too many men go through this. Like, this is a story I know all too well. If I can be completely transparent, that's me right there. At one point in my life, that was me. And I seen the resentment. Look, everybody got a red pill story. Everybody got a story on, how and why they entered this space. I can tell y'all stories for days, but that's for another time. But I definitely did this right here. Definitely do. Another picture of them young and happy. Look at it. Karen stopped appreciating little things he did, like leaving romantic notes on the pillow. I still loved him, but I began to feel embarrassed by his blue-collar jobs, annoyed that despite his intelligence, he didn't have a career. Then he brought a lurid blue and pink VW Beetle. Why couldn't he drive a normal car? Things that now seem incredibly insignificant began to niggle. So now, she lost respect for her. Now the nitpicking begins. Any little thing to start an argument with him now, to give an excuse, to be upset, so it can be justified now. Like, y'all gotta start peeping game. I began to wish he was more sophisticated and earned more. I felt envious of friends with better off partners who were able to support them as they started their families. Matthew, you did good. I stopped seeing Matthew as my equal. I stopped seeing all the qualities that had made me fall in love with him. His fierce intelligence, our shared sense of humor, his determination not to follow the crowd. Instead, I saw someone who was holding me back. And that's how a lot of females feel about y'all. When they start making more money than you, they start doing that. You're holding them back. Of course, like we discussed already, they're usually raw. But nonetheless, you're still holding them back. I encouraged him to find a career and was thrilled when he was accepted to join the police in 1995. It should have heralded a new chapter in our lives, but it only hasn't the end. We went from spending every evening and weekend together to hardly seeing one another. Matthew was doing round-the-clock shifts while I worked long hours on the launch of a new magazine. Listen to the other highlight. I hated the fact Matthew was suddenly putting another woman before me. How dare she become between us? Over the next few weeks, I am ashamed to say I vented my spleen at both of them in a series of heated phone calls. Our sex life had dwindled and nights out together were rare. I stopped appreciating little things he did, like leaving romantic notes on a pillow or scoring secondhand bookshops for novels he knew I loved. He was my best friend, yet I took him totally for granted. And that's what a lot of females do. They take the male they're dealing with, the nice guy, for granted because he's practical, he's predictable, he's boring. When he's like this and they start feeling like that about you, they may not be sexually attracted to you anymore. So that becomes whack to them too. Just everything. That's just how it is. So I'm gonna end the video right here because it's very, very lengthy. But you can check it out yourself. I'm gonna leave the description to the article in my description box below, so you can check it out. And once you do, please in the comment section drop your comments down below and let me know how y'all feel about this, because I want to hear about it. We can talk it, pick, dissect it, see what we come up with. Y'all know how I do. We can agree or we can agree to disagree, as long as it's respectable. Alright, make sure y'all hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, and prayerfully I'll see y'all next video. Alright, God bless. Love y'all. Peace.